I started painting when I was like 5 years old. My family were all artists. My grandmother's an artist. My mom and dad are artists. That's how they made their living. So they weren't just, it wasn't just like a hobby, but they actually, I got to grow up watching people actually in the field making a living doing the arts. They were like oil painters, and they did like festivals and art shows and things like that. So we traveled a lot, like painting for the public in different areas of the country, in California, Florida, Washington, Oregon, just all over. I was hired to do a project for Washington High School. It was a painting exhibit that was supposed to be kind of an educational tool for the school. And it was about people who improved race relations and also the history of South Dakota. And I was hired and came here for like 3 months. My kids loved the place. They just absolutely loved everyone in Pipestone and the schools and stuff. And I said, well, let's see if we can make it work. And here we are, like 12 years later, still here. I think my artwork, I like to do things that are either public art or something that people see, that kind of wow people. I also like to do like a lot of social things, a lot of things that make a difference, like in history or social causes, like the homelessness cause I worked with for 10 years. I actually still work with them occasionally, like once a year I work with them, trying to get them either murals, banners, or more portraits. The National Coalition for the Homeless was an exhibit that it took several years to create. We had to travel around to each city, and the National Coalition for the Homeless actually kind of hooked me up with, where to go and who to talk with, and I worked through different organizations, but they took me out on the streets in different cities, and I interviewed and got to know like some of the people who were experiencing homelessness at the time. We kind of sought out to change that image so that people knew that like homeless people were just like you and me, and that anyone could end up on the streets. I did a painting of Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull is a prominent Lakota figure, and I don't know if you do research on Pipestone, like just everybody when George Catlin came through, like almost everybody on the Missouri had Catlinite or Pipestone. The pipe stems that are on the side of the painting are all petroglyphs that were found from different offerings that were around the Three Maidens. The mural that I'm doing now is more of a woods background with lots of trees. Yeah, I foresee that trees are pretty versatile, so I'm really hoping that it sticks around and gets used again. I have a few murals here that are kind of generic murals that get used, like mountain scenes with trees and things like that. My children were also a big factor in that. Any time that they go and they want to be in a play and your mother's an artist, they kind of come home and say, hey Mom, could you come and help with this backdrop, or could you come and help? They need something done, or so I kind of started working my way in, I suppose, with my kids, doing the plays. But it's also, I love doing backdrops. I've been doing backdrops for like several years before I came here even. it's very exciting to be able to bring arts to a community that doesn't have a lot of arts. There are a lot of artists here. I think that people are more reluctant to call themselves artists. I think you almost have to be kind of a little more bold, or you've had to make a living, or, you know, but I see people all around me here in this community that I would consider artists. But, you know, they say, oh, I do this as a hobby, or it's, you know, it's a craft, or, you know, so I think people are reluctant to call themselves artists, but I think that you find that there's more and more people that come out of the woodworks, and it's just fun to just get everybody together and share and work with other creative people. At the Calumet Hotel, I have 2 walls and murals there, and they are kind of around the history of Pipestone. We have Leaping Rock on one of them, and you see like a young man leaping from the rock, and that's a place in Pipestone. You know, when you walk around the trail, Leaping Rock is out there. Young men used to come and like jump that and try to like prove how brave they were, you know, and leave an arrow over on top of Leaping Rock to show their bravery. And that's on the mural. And then there's also Winnewissa Falls that's on the mural. And that there's like many legends about Winnewissa Falls. You know, one of them is like where the Great Spirit's mouth opened and water poured forth through the thing. So, you know, in even some Native American legends, actually the Great Spirit just like stood right there where that waterfall is. At the Pipestone County Museum, I have a mural there that is, it has like prairie, and they're trying to bring back like the tall grass prairies here, but it has like different plants that were native to Minnesota, where like each one of them were like for medicinal purposes or for food, or, you know, but I think it's like very interesting that they're trying to bring it back here too. If you're around Pipestone, you should check those out. Pipestone as a community, I think I think that they really like the arts here. I think that they're very accepting of the arts. I would love to see like arts become more public here, but I think that there's just a lot of people that are super talented here. The theater here is just like amazing, amazing talent in it. So I just think that it's just a really neat little possibility of having an little artist community here. I would say it's being an artist. There's like nothing to me that's greater. It's not like a job in a way. It's more of a journey that you're taking. You know, it's like you get up every day and you wonder where this journey is going to take you, and you constantly evolve and you constantly find new things and new ways to do things, and new perspectives and new ways to look at things. And it's just, I think it's just exciting and thrilling to be an artist.
This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts, offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota. Explore hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for a great vacation or a place to hold an event. ExploreAlex.com. Tri-State Brain and Spine Institute, with locations in Alexandria, Edina, Crookston, and Maple Grove. Doctors dedicated to evaluating and treating all types of brain and spine problems, no matter how complex.